Pada Paramahansa Paribraj Jagarcharya Vajasto Tarasata Sri Sriman Kuluchuramani Sava Shastra Siddhanta Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Rupanu Guru Bhagya Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vishwavaranya Vishnupad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadha Sri Vasadi Shri Gaur Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai Go Gopi Govardhan Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Kalindi Jamuna Ji Ki Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswata Acharya Brinda Ki Jai Samadvaita Vaishnava Mandali Ki Jai Kol Kartel Ki Jai Shri Harinama Sankirtan Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. So welcome everyone to our Sunday afternoon talk from the East London branch, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, London chapter, and we are continuing the discussion of our books of our founder Acharya Srila Om Vishnupad Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, which are the foundation of our spiritual mission and movement. And we are continuing the Golden Volcano of Divine Love, Sridhar Maharaj's treatise on the life and teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So where are we? So last week, Guru Maharaj, we were discussing how the different kinds of separation. This chapter is called A Tragedy of Separation. And Guru Maharaj was telling how there are different, in transcendental relationships, there are four kinds of separation. Purvaraga, Mana, Pravas, and Prema by Jitya. So maybe we'll just recap on that from there. There are four kinds of separation: Purvaraga, Mana, Pravas, and Prema by Jitya. Purvaraga means before the meeting. This is found when Radha and Govinda are not actually meeting, but somehow one has come in remote connection with the other's name, portrait, or something of that nature. When Radha hears Krishna's name or the sound of the flute, no real meeting is there, but there is some connection. The sound of Krishna's flute, a picture of Krishna, or Krishna's name may bring about Purvaraga. And Krishna may experience something similar by hearing the sound of Srimati Radharani's name. In this way, there are pangs of separation, but no actual meeting. The name is so sweet that he can't contain himself. She can't contain herself. When the holy name of Krishna enters within Srimati Radharani's ear, she becomes perturbed, thinking, is a name as sweet as this possible within this world? This is her reaction. And she experiences this also. She feels, I can't meet him. A pang of separation comes within her heart. That is called Purvaraga, the pain of separation that comes before meeting. Mana is another kind of separation. Mana means that when meeting, there is some difference between them in trifling matters. This is the very nature of love. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami says that love moves in a curved way like a serpent. It's not diseased, but this is the nature of the path of love. Sometimes with a trifling cause, or with no cause, a feeling comes that, oh, he's neglecting me, he wants to avoid me. And thereby Srimati Radharani thinks, I don't want his company. Although cent% appreciation is there, still for the time being, some opposing sentiments spring up from underground. A clash comes in the sentiments of the two, and one wants to avoid the company of the other. In prema by chittya, jealousy rises to such a degree that although they are already together, still some sort of thought comes within and makes them think that they are far away from each other. These different kinds of separation are found only in Madhura Rasa. Prema by chittya is that condition which arises when Krishna is there and Radharani is just nearby, but seeing her own shadow reflected on the body of Krishna, she is so jealous that she thinks that it is another lady. So great pangs of separation come within her, and she thinks, what is this? Another lady is there, and her mind revolts. But her friend Lalita is warning her, what are you saying? It's only your own image reflected there. Can't you see it? Then Radharani comes to her consciousness. She particularly notices, oh, it's my own shadow. Then that feeling is immediately gone. So this is an example of prema by chittya. These are extraordinary, extremely high transcendental subjects. And although this is not to be discussed in detail, this is the nature of divine love in union and separation. Both are interdependent, for one cannot stay without the other, and separation is created willingly to enhance union. Another kind of separation is called pravas. There are two types of pravas. One is when the separation is for a limited time, and another is when one has left the country for a far-off place, as when Krishna went to Mathura to attend to other duties. These are the four types of separation pangs between the Lord, the lover, and the beloved. Of course, these transcendental topics are very high, and we should not indulge in them carelessly. For if we project mundane characteristics into the higher plane, our future realization will be harmed. Our mundane experience will tend to take us down, so we must proceed with great caution. What we conceive of at present is not to be found in the plane of Krishna's pastimes. It is a far higher plane of existence than the realm of our own experience. Our vision is adulterated. We have only an alloyed concept of the original thing. We must keep this in mind, and with this caution, we may deal with these things. It is safer to deal with the topics of the separation between Radha and Govinda than with their union. Of course, we must understand that the pain of separation experienced by Radha and Govinda has nothing to do with this plane. And so with this caution, we may talk to some extent about separation. But it will be extremely dangerous for us to discuss or to think of when Radha Govinda and their intimate friends are combined, enjoying each other's company. Because if we deal with the pastimes of Radha and Krishna with any mundane conception, we will create a great offense. So to conceive of the union of Radha and Govinda is more dangerous than cultivating feelings of separation, as Mahaprabhu has shown by his own example. In separation from Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is thinking, I can't tolerate even my own life without Krishna. Without his grace, without his company, I can't maintain my undesirable existence. This kind of mood helps us, but still we should not imitate it. Rather, we must respectfully accept it as our highest ideal. This will help us brush aside our filthy, unwanted habits or anarthas. If some tears come, however, we should not think that we have realized the highest stage. That sort of thinking should be avoided. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says, I don't have a drop of divine love within me, for otherwise, how could I maintain my mundane life? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas so that the residents of Navadvip would be drawn into this high state of separation through affection's force. His old mother Sachi Devi was crying hopelessly. His young wife, Vishnu Priya Devi, was helplessly passing her days. Mahaprabhu took sannyas to create excitement, piercing into the hearts of the people the divine love that he came to give. They thought, who was Nimai Pandit? What great benefit did he come to give us? That he left everything made them sympathetic towards him. And for all these reasons, the Lord went to take sannyas. After the function of sannyas was finished, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became mad. I must run to Vrindavan, he thought. I have given up all connection with this world. I have no attraction for it. I must run to Vrindavan to exclusively engage myself in the service of Krishna. In a trance, he began to chant a verse from Sriman Bhagavatam, where Krishna gives a description of sannyas to Uddhava. This verse was spoken by a Tridandi Bhikkhu, a mendicant. Mahaprabhu quoted this verse thinking, I have accepted this garb of a sannyasi, for this is favorable to my spiritual life. Now no one in society has any claim over me, and I will be able to exclusively devote myself to the service of Krishna. I am going to Vrindavan with no other engagement or connection with anyone. In this way, in ecstatic madness, he began to chant and dance. Keshav Bharati Maharaj embraced him, and both guru and disciple joined together, chanting and dancing. At that time, Mahaprabhu spoke the verse of the Brahmin, who in the last stages of his life took Tridandi sannyas, and had to tolerate the torture of society in different forms. He said, Etam shastaya paratma nishtam adyashitam purvatamer mahadbhi aham tarishyami duranta param tamo mukundangri nisevayaiva. The previous great sages have accepted and shown the path of sannyas. I have now accepted that very form of life. Now, leaving everything aside, I shall run towards Vrindavan. There, taking the name of Mukunda, Krishna, I shall cross over the ocean of nescience. Crossing over this Maya, I shall reach Vrindavan and fully enter the service of Krishna. The dress of a sannyasi is meant only for an external adjustment, but the real thing is to serve Mukunda. And so with this verse, he suddenly started towards Vrindavan from Katha. Near the banks of the Ganges, he entered the jungle thinking, now my duty is to reach Vrindavan as soon as possible. And there, in a solitary place, I shall sit and chant and sing the name of Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ran towards Vrindavan and entered the jungle before evening. And Nityananda Prabhu, Chandrasekhar Acharya, Mukunda Dutt, and Jagadananda pursued him through the jungle. Sometimes while running, he would suddenly fall on the ground and began to cry, Krishna, Krishna. Getting up suddenly, he began running without any apparent direction to the north, east, west, and south. Sometimes he would run away so swiftly that the devotees could not trace him, especially in the night when they would lose him in the darkness. Then they would all be disappointed, thinking, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, our Lord and Master, has left us. But suddenly they would hear him far away crying, Krishna, 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 in a piteous, wailing tone. Then they would run in that direction. and see that he was lying on the ground, crying, Kanha mura prananata murali badam, Kana koran kana pan, Brajendra nandan. Where is my beloved Krishna? I can't tolerate his separation. Where is the Lord of my life who is playing his flute? What shall I do now? Where should I go to find the son of Maharaj Nanda? In a piteous, heart-rending tone, he was crying. In a bewildered state with no consciousness of any particular direction, he would say, Where are you? I'm going to Vrindavan. Why are you disturbing me? After nursing him again, they began to start towards the west, towards Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued wandering in trance, but the great attraction of his devotees did not allow him to go towards the west. Taking advantage of his trance, Nityananda Prabhu somehow coaxingly turned Mahaprabhu's face towards Shantipur. It is mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that beginning from Katwa they went west until they reached a place near Bakreshwara, about 6 miles northeast of Dubra Rajpur, in the district of Birbhum. In Vishramtal, on the other side of the Ajay river, there is a place which is observed as the seat of Sri Chaitanya. There, they say, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu turned his face from the west towards the east, or from Vrindavan to Shantipur. They wandered throughout the remaining evening, and then another day and night. Finally, on the third day, in the evening, he returned through Kalna to Shantipur, through the arrangements of Nityananda Prabhu, who appeared before Mahaprabhu in the red cloth of a renunciate. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although so familiar with him, couldn't recognize Nityananda. He saw a sannyasi before him and thought, I am going to Vrindavan, and here is a sannyasi in front of me. He said, O Sripad sannyasi, where are you going? I shall go to Vrindavan with you. How far is Vrindavan from here? Nityananda showed him the Ganges near Kalna, saying, Just see, there is the Jamuna. Mahaprabhu said, Oh, we have come so near the Jamuna. Then he took his bath in the Jamuna singing this verse. Chiddananda banho sadananda shunoho, para prema patri drava brahma gatri, aganam labitri jagat kema datri, pavitri kriyam no vapur mitra putri. O daughter of the sun, although you have appeared in the form of water, you are most dear to the son of Nanda, who is the spiritual son. You dispel the sins of all sinners. Please purify this mortal body. This is from the Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka of Kavi Karnapur. Just before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived there on the banks of the Ganges, Nityananda Prabhu sent Chandrasekhar to inform Advaita Acharya to come. When Mahaprabhu asked Advaita Acharya, Is that you, Advaita? How did you know I was in Vrindavan? Advaita Acharya said, Oh, this must be some kind of joke. Wherever you are is Vrindavan, and it is my fortune that you have come here near the Ganges. Oh, it's the Ganges? Yes. Then Mahaprabhu, regaining his consciousness of this world, said, Oh, then it is a conspiracy of Nityananda Prabhu. He has brought me here to the banks of the Ganges and told me it is the Jamuna. It's all a hoax. I have fallen prey to his hoax. Advaita Acharya argued, No, Nityananda Prabhu has not spoken any falsehood. You have really taken bath in the Jamuna. The confluence of the Jamuna and the Ganges is in Allahabad, and it is mentioned in the Shastra that the western side is the Jamuna and the eastern side is the Ganges. Now you have taken your bath in the western side, so you have taken your bath in the Jamuna, according to the scripture. So Nityananda Prabhu has not told any lie. Anyway, I have come with this new dress for you. Leave your wet clothes and accept this new garb. I have also cooked something for you. For 3 days you have been fasting, and today, as a sannyasi, you must take some charity in my house. I am a poor man, he said with folded palms, but you must come. They took him by the boat to Shantipur, to the house of Advaita Acharya. The next morning, Sachi Devi came, and Mahaprabhu spent about 10 or 12 days there in Shantipur performing kirtan. So what is Vrindavan proper? It is a stage of consciousness. In different stages of consciousness, there are different subjective realities. Everything springs from the willpower of the Lord. He is the subject, and his potency and sweet will is all subjective. The Lord said, "Let there be light," and there was light. He said, "Let there be water," and there was water. He said, "Let there be earth," and there was earth. If, like a hypnotist, the higher subject wants to make the lower subject see something, he cannot but see that. We are all in the subjective imaginary world, but above imagination is the super-subjective plane of reality. So Krishna reveals himself to one who has developed pure consciousness. And in the stage of pure consciousness, one can perceive the true nature of subjective reality. Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. To show us that Vrindavan is everywhere, Mahaprabhu was running here and there in ecstasy. When they met, Advaita Prabhu told him, "You must be jesting when you say you are going to Vrindavan. Wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. We have that experience. What you say is very peculiar. I am going to Vrindavan, but simply to teach us the value of Vrindavan. You are posing in this way." Vrindavan, the highest plane of divinity, is a stage of consciousness. Above the plane of awe and reverence found in Vaikuntha is Vrindavan, the land of simplicity and divine love. The peculiarity of the inhabitants of that highest plane of consciousness is that they do not feel they are in Vrindavan. It is aprakrita or supramundane. Knowledge has been classified under 5 headings. The lowest is knowledge acquired through one's own sense experience. Pratyaksha, what we have experienced through our senses. That is the first stage. The next higher stage is knowledge we have not experienced with our own senses, but have gathered from the experience of others. Paroksha. Just as the scientists have their experience, and we have gathered some knowledge from their inventions and discoveries. The third stage is above the stage of human experience, and that is called aparoksha. It is sometimes like deep sleep. When we awaken, we say, "Oh, I slept very happily. I slept a very good, sound sleep." But when in deep, dreamless sleep, we have no consciousness of that state. But when we return from a deep, dreamless sleep, we express some awareness of that experience. But it is hazy. Aparoksha is a sort of hazy experience which is indistinct, where the subject and material object come together, and the material object vanishes in the subject. Shankaracharya, the great proponent of impersonalism, explains the gradation of consciousness up to this point. On the other hand, the great devotee scholar Ramanujacharya, as well as other Vaishnava acharyas, are of the opinion that there is a 4th stage beyond this. That plane is called adhoksaja, or transcendental, or that which exists beyond the scope of the senses, whether gross or subtle. It is a plane that we can experience only when, by its sweet will, it comes down to our gross plane of understanding. If it withdraws, we are helpless. We can't find it. We cannot say that the absolute truth is under the control of our knowledge. We can't measure it like that. It is independent. But by its sweet will, it may come down and we may experience that higher realm. But if it withdraws, we are quite helpless. We can do nothing. We may cry or we may pray, but we can't enter there forcibly by the dint of our own power. This is the fourth plane of consciousness, and it is grand, all-powerful, and all-inspiring. Only if it reveals itself to us can we have some experience of that plane known as Vaikuntha, the unlimited spiritual region of awe and power. That is the Adhokshaja plane. So there is Pratyaksha, direct experience through sense perception. Then Paroksha, learning through the experience of others. Then Aparoksha, the negative plane of indistinct consciousness. And then the fourth dimension, Adhokshaja. We are underground. Real knowledge is above, on the surface, beyond our experience. If we can pierce through the thick coverings walling up our experience, we can come in connection with another plane of consciousness. That is Adhokshaja. Ado kritam indriya jam jnanam. Adhokshaja means the superior knowledge which can force down our knowledge of the experience of this world. That transcendental, supramental knowledge is the fourth stage of knowledge. That plane is different in every way. It is not similar to this world. But through Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we come to know that there is a fifth stage of knowledge which is very similar to this mundane world, yet it is not mundane. It is called aprakrita, that is Goloka, the full-fledged theistic conception, which is only found in Krishna's domain. Central knowledge of the Absolute must have a connection with even the lowest level of mundane creation. It must be able to harmonize the worst position of the illusory world. This is known as aprakrita, or supramundane. To enter that highest realm is possible only through divine love. Everything can be compensated only through love. There is a saying that a loving mother thinks that her blind child has beautiful lotus eyes. She is blinded by her affection. So what is mean and low can only be compensated by love that shines very beautifully. That is prema, or divine love. Through mercy, through pity, through grace, a king can come to play with a boy in the street. Affection can make it possible. The difference between high and low disappears at such a stage. The residents of Vrindavan think themselves ordinary. This is Gyan Shunya Bhakti, divine love which is free from any calculation and does not consider even the opulence and power of the Lord. That devotion is above even Vaikuntha and goes on under the spell of Jogamaya, the spiritually enchanting potency. It is the special art of Jogamaya that those holding the highest position think themselves to be very insignificant. Love removes the difference of great and small, high and low. Vrindavan is such a plane of existence. There we find devotion free from any trace of calculation. Gyan Shunya Bhakti. Even the residents of Vrindavan may not know their own exalted position. Advaita Prabhu tells Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wherever you are, there is Vrindavan. Narottam Das Thakur says, wherever we find a true devotee of Krishna, there is Vrindavan. Jata Vaishnava Gana Se Stana Vrindavana. From Narottam's Prema Bhakti Chandrika. Outwardly we may think that they are members of this ordinary world, but the object of all their conversation and behavior is Vrindavan. Still, although they are in Vrindavan, they do not feel themselves to be there. They are not conscious of their own exalted position. A king, when he is not very conscious of his power, thinks of himself as an ordinary person. It's something like that. Someone may be a great doctor, but through affection he may do the work of a nurse for his patient. Out of his love and affection for the patient, he may come down to do such work, but still he is great. This is the beautiful nature of Vrindavan life. It is great without the attitude or the air of bigness. Although they are really, really great, they appear to be simple. Power dressed in affection and love, couched in humility, that is Vrindavan, and that is also Navadvip. One time when I was staying with Guru Maharaj in Navadvip, and for a long time, longest time that I'd been there, like just over 6 months. And then it was time to leave, and I came to Guru Maharaj, and I was feeling a bit choked and teary, and I said to Guru Maharaj, oh, I feel very unhappy because I'm leaving Navadvip today. And Guru Maharaj said to me, that's because you think Navadvip is a place, but Navadvip is not a place, it is a state of consciousness. And if you are able to connect with that consciousness, Navadvip consciousness, then wherever you are, that will be Navadvip. Of course, that wasn't much consolation to me, but this is the same thing that Guru Maharaj is expressing here. Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say that this is the highest and most laudable place for us to live. There the Supreme Lord Krishna and the gopis are living in the forest. There we find no grandeur or big buildings, but if we have a true eye for grandeur, we will see it in Vrindavan. From an impartial judgment of the facts, their position is very great, but through humility they have apparently descended to our level. It is a very sweet and beautiful form of life that we find in Vrindavan. And Mahaprabhu came to show that to us through Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna is the Lord of that land, and the cows, hills, forests, and the Jamuna river are all creating a favorable environment there. So Mahaprabhu took sannyas to teach us, to take us up and make us the permanent inhabitants of that place. He says that actually our real self lives in that plane, but unfortunately our consciousness has become focused outside. Now we are captured by the mundane aspect of this creation and think that we are suffering, but this is all illusion. We must get relief from this mania. Mania means madness, and now we are possessed of some mania. Just as a madman leaves his home and wanders in the street collecting pieces of paper and cloth, we are focused in this world, but when this madness is gone, we will awaken in our own home. Yeah, this is actually the case, isn't it? We're running around in this world, striving for so many things, but it's all actually illusion. that everything actually is only leading to the grave. The pomp of power, the boast of heraldry, all that wealth, all that beauty ever gave, leads but to the inevitable hour. The paths of glory lead but to the grave. This is from the poem by Thomas Gray called The Elegy to an English Churchyard. So everything only leading to the grave. And we see that, right? Her Majesty the Queen, like 96 years old, 70 years on the throne, and now going to the grave, and everyone crying. But this is for not just for her, for everyone. Whatever we have managed to establish in this world, none of that is worth anything at the end. Because just like Her Majesty the Queen, we just end up in a wooden box, our body, to be burnt or to be eaten by worms. And maybe her wooden box is more fancy than ours, but still the destination is the same, big or small. Then why we're running around trying to establish something as if we're going to live forever here in this mundane world? It is a fool's errand, Guru Maharaj saying, wild goose chasing, running after something which is insubstantial and unreal. So whatever Krishna says in the Gita, whatever your state of mind is at the time of your death, that you will attain in your next life without fail. So if we just spend our lives amassing everything, and in the last moments, that's what we're thinking of, then our destination will be again to be born in this material world. And again and again and again and again, with no end. But Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev, Srimad Bhagavatam, the great saints and sages of ancient times, they've all come to tell us, now is the time to wake up from that mania and try to use your time, your energy, for the real purpose of life, which is to return home, to leave the mad wandering in the street collecting rubbish, and rather to try and search out where is your real home, where is your real wealth. So Lord Jesus, he said, do not store your wealth where moth and rust will corrupt it, but rather store your wealth in the house of the Lord. So there we must, what is real, what is substantial, we must try to connect that with the Lord. Then everything will be valuable in the real sense, because when everything is offered to the Lord, then everything just by the dint of that offering becomes spiritual in nature. So then we are actually amassing some wealth in our spiritual bank account, you can say, in our spiritual account, and that can never be diminished. There's nothing in this world that can take that away from us. So when we leave this body, everything that we have in this world, our home, our wealth, our family, our everything, it was all finished for us. But whatever spiritual merit we have amassed, that remains, and that will take us up to a higher destination. So we should try to utilize our time for that. Then we will find the real benefit of our life. So Guru Maharaj continues. We must return back to Godhead, back to home. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, your home is a beautiful land. You must try for that. Why are you always troubled with the horrors of war, epidemic, earthquake, undesirable disease, stealing, dacoiting, and fighting with so many neighbors? At the bottom of all this is the fact that you have identified yourself with this mortal world and this body of flesh and blood. You have to retrace your path and go back to your home. That is what is necessary. Our homeland is such a lovely and beautiful and divine place. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas is all for us, and it is for the purpose of taking us back home, where we can have home comfort, home sweetness. If we have any home consciousness within, then we must appreciate such a proposal. Home, sweet home. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas is apparently very cruel to his devotees and to his family members, but it was meant only to take us to our home. To work out the ecstasy of union, it was necessary for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to show separation from his devotees and relatives. Separation and union are mutually helpful. Mahaprabhu's sannyas, his renunciation, is a great tragedy of separation. Okay. So, this is the end of the first part, which is giving some insight into Mahaprabhu's life up until his sannyas. After taking sannyas, he remained in this world another 18 years. The first 6 years in Sankirtan, all over India, but particularly spent his time in Orissa, in Puri, near to the temple of Lord Jagannath. And then the final last 12 years of his life spent at the Gambira. The Gambira is in Puri. It is called the Radhakanta Mott, and it was the house of Kashi Mishra. And Mahaprabhu made his cell there, or his bhajan kutir there. And there he spent the last 12 years of his life, going deeply into the ecstasy of union in separation with Lord Krishna. Relishing the deep aspects of the inner meanings of the scripture, and showing his internal reason for his advent with his close associates Swarup Damodar Goswami and Rai Ramananda and a few others. And that is very intimately recorded in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and also in Chaitanya Bhagavat and other places. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Vrindavan Das Thakur were both considered to be avatars of Vedavyas in Gaura Lila, and they have given very comprehensively the life and teachings of Sri Chaitanya Dev, but especially Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Vrindavan Das Thakur, he dealing mainly purely with the Leela of Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, although also dealing with that very comprehensively, he gives a very solid philosophical and scriptural foundation for the teaching and the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Dev. So it is this book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the most important book of the Gaudiya Vaishnava canon, you can say. Guru Maharaj said, the greatest literature ever to have seen the light of day in this or any other world. And really it is the wealth of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas and the apex of the acme of the theistic thought given to the world by Sri Chaitanya Dev and his followers. Right at the beginning, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in his composition, he uses this verse. Actually, it's a verse of Rupa Goswami. Anarpita chirim chirat kurunyavatana kalo samarpaita manuto jala rasam bhakti shriyam. Anarpita chirim chirat means that you are the greatest, most munificent of all avatars, because you have come to give what no other avatar has ever given before. Anarpita chirim, that which was never given to the world before. And that is the distribution of Krishna Prem. So although Lord Krishna appeared in the Dwapara Yuga to show his Leela to the world, that is in a closed group. It is not for everyone. It is only for his closed group. And that is recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam. But also Srimad Bhagavatam, not so well known previously. But Srimad Bhagavatam, that is the final work of Veda Vyas. Vyasadeva could see that in Kali Yuga, people's lives will be very short and their intelligence will be very poor. So previous to that, there were no books. Before Kali Yuga, there weren't books. The Veda was passed down by oral tradition from spiritual master to disciple, from father to son, from mother to child, this way. That in previous ages you would hear something once and remember it like entirely. Now that's almost unthinkable for us in this age. They call that eidentic memory, isn't it? And someone who has that, few people that have that, they're considered like savants, or like some kind of extraordinary person who have that, like a photographic memory, whatever they see or hear, or they can remember it exactly. But that was previously, that was everybody had that type of memory. But in Kali Yuga, you can't even remember what you had for breakfast, isn't it? We can't remember anything. Where were you on the night of the 4th, sir? Well, I don't know. Can't remember. So, this is Kali Yuga. We can't remember anything. Can't remember. Sometimes we can't, and as you get a little older also, you can't even remember the names of your own children. You have that. I have that experience sometimes. I can't remember my daughter's names when I'm talking to them sometimes. So, then this is Kali Yuga, and the brain is very poor. And Vyasadeva, he could understand that. So he knew, and this was really his main function, was that all of the Veda had to be written now. Otherwise it would be lost. That knowledge would be lost. So, choosing Ganapati as his scribe, he began that task. All of the histories, the Puranas, Upanishads, and the 4 Vedas and so on, all recorded by Vyasadeva. But he's not the author, he's the compiler, because they existed already. And but he is giving that. But when he is finished that task, he's feeling some dissatisfaction. He's thinking, this was what my spiritual task was, this, and I have done all of that, but still I am not feeling, like how I think I should feel after accomplishing that. I feel like something is still missing. For that reason, in his ashram, his Bhadrak ashram, that in that place, Narad Rishi appeared. Narad is Vyasadeva's guru. And Vyasadeva submitted this at the feet of his guru. I have done this service, task to me, this divine service, but I am not feeling complete. I am not feeling full satisfaction. Why is this, Gurudev? And Narad said, yes, I understand this, and for this reason I have come. Because what you have done, that is all very good, but actually what you have done is ultimately a disservice, because you've created a jungle of thought out there, so many different scriptures, but they do not all agree on the what is the ultimate thing, or at least from their particular perspective, they are not showing the same result. Then one scripture is telling that Vishnu is supreme, another telling that Shiva is supreme, yet another telling Devi, she is supreme, and another telling that impersonal Brahman, that is the ultimate. So different scripture telling so many different things, and not just that, but many different versions of thought. Then anyone who is Narad telling to Vyasadeva, anyone who's searching after the definitive truth, then they'll become bewildered when they look all this jungle of scripture. Which one is real? Which one is correct? And can they all be correct? Like how to understand? Then he said, so you have given that absolute truth in some places, but indirectly. Now you have to begin your own work and show that to the world directly. What is the ultimate goal of life? So
before Narad and Vyasadeva, it's been told before as well, like
yes,
Balaram, Sadashiv, and Brahma as well.
yes. But now
that's why he had to compile.
Yeah, so now, previously, by oral tradition, that would be there. But now, he's made this library, if you like. This great library of Vyasadeva has put all of the scripture in one place. Now, like, if you go to the bookshop and you want to learn something, you'll be bewildered. So many different titles. Like, which one is good? Which one is the best one? Then we don't know what is the best one. So then maybe they're all good. All of those books are good, but which one is the definitive one? We cannot say. So then something like that. Then Narad said, I'm giving you these 4 verses. They're called the Chatur Shloki, beginning Aham Brahmasmi. No, what is it? Aham. I forget. Anyway, 4 root verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. He said, meditate on these verses and proper inspiration will come to you. You can consider that Vyasadeva, already he is a great rishi. And he's given so much knowledge. But in the course of giving that knowledge, his own spiritual development he is not static. He's also progressive in his thought, in his realization that has come to him. Then now, he's at the very height of his own realization. So Narad is saying, now you have to, what you have learned from all of this, what you have gained from all of this, internally yourself, now it is time for you to give this to the world. And to give this in a very clean and straightforward way. So if you meditate on these verses I have given you, you will get the proper inspiration. And he began to do that. And then he began the composition of his own work. And that is the Bhagavat Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam. The Amala Purana, the spotless Purana. Where right at the beginning he says, everything that is superfluous to the real understanding of spiritual knowledge, that is rejected from this book. You won't find it in here. That is Kaitabya Dharma. He said this is Kaitabya. Kaitabya means cheating. So he said like every scripture, and not just Vedic scripture, but every religious teaching is teaching Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Now this is like, they may not use those words, but Christian religion, Muslim religion, Hindu religion, all teaching Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And this idea that you do your religious duty, dharma, the Lord will be happy with you. And you will get artha. Artha means you will get prosperity. You'll be prosperous in the world. Dharma, artha. And from prosperity you'll get kama. Not karma, but kama. Kama means pleasure. You'll enjoy life. You'll get a happiness, a happy life. And finally, you'll get moksha. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And every religion teaching this in one way or another. But there is a fifth end of life. A fifth goal of life. Not just to be happy and go to heaven, but rather to get the actual fulfillment of your own soul. The reason why you're created, the reason you exist. And that is prema, Krishna prema. You are meant for Krishna prema, Anandam. The Lord is Satchidananda, and you are also meant to be Satchidananda. That Ananda is the very food of your soul. That is Krishna prema. And you are to teach that, Narad told Vyasadeva. You are to show that, teach that clearly. And Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us that. From the very beginning to the very end of Srimad Bhagavatam, in a progressive line of thought, this has been explained. And we are to understand the goal of life is for the service and satisfaction of Lord Krishna. And that, and only that, will actually give us our own complete satisfaction, our own complete fulfillment. So Vyasadeva has come to give that in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Guru Maharaj said, the junior most of the scriptures, but with the senior most thought. So all of the Vedic literature, it is considered to be like the percolated essence of Vedic thought given in Srimad Bhagavatam. And nothing unnecessary is there. So, and Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev, he is the ideal preacher of Srimad Bhagavatam. He has come as the Juga Avatar to teach that. Srimad Bhagavatam reveals to the world Krishna's Vrindavan Leela. But Mahaprabhu has come to broadcast that in a very broad way and to give that to everybody, without consideration of who is fit and who is unfit. But for everyone, it is available to everyone. And that thing has never been given in the world before. So that's why Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, at the very beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, you are the most munificent avatar of the Lord because you have given that thing, that treasure, which has never been available in this world before. And not only that, but you have spread it so widely, like in Guru Maharaj's words, like distributing nectar as if it were water. Like everyone can take that freely to everyone. And we see that although we are still within the beginning of the Kali Yuga, relatively, since the advent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this Prema Dharma, this religion of love as taught by Sri Chaitanya Deva, is spreading all over the world. And it must increase. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, the intelligent men and women of the world must embrace this as the only religious thought necessary in the world. We will see that will be so. Maybe we won't see in our life, but it will increase. It will increase. That is the greatest thought, the greatest revelation of divinity. You will not find anywhere else. You will not find in any other religious book other than Srimad Bhagavatam. This kind of religious thought you will not find there like that. Who is God and what is his nature and what is it that he wants from us? In a broad way, every religion telling us. that we are to serve Him. We are the servant of God. We are to serve God. Yes, that is very good. Every religion is teaching that. But what are the specifics of that? Who is God? Where is He? What does He do? What does He like? What does He, what are His characteristics? What is His nature? This you will only find given in Srimad Bhagavatam, or from the ancient scriptures of India. You will find it there. You will not find it anywhere else. Only a vague idea. So Krishna consciousness is the highest revelation and the highest duty of everyone. And Mahaprabhu has come to give that to us. And if we are fortunate, we shall try to take that seriously, finding that everything else in this material world is ultimately tasteless to us. We will find that there is nothing else worth striving for. If only we can pierce through the covering of our ego and our conditioning in this material world. So the best way to do that is by the congregational chanting of Krishna's holy name. That in this material world, this Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, it is told. But the one redeeming factor is that simply by chanting the Sankirtan of Lord Krishna, everything that is attainable in previous ages by great effort can very easily be attained, and more in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Lord's holy name, especially this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The great boon, the great blessing, the great benediction from Lord Krishna himself, that he has invested all of himself in his own name. That is the Adagyan Tattva, that the supreme absolute truth is indivisible. So that means that Krishna and his name, they are the same. Krishna and his form, they are the same. Krishna and his pastimes, they are the same. Krishna, everything related with Krishna is one with Krishna and has the same transcendental potency as Krishna. But especially available to us through the power of sound is the chanting of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And we have been given the blessing of ears and a tongue so that we can engage in that. There is not just for, hearing the news that we have ears. And it is not just for, tasting nice food that we have a tongue, or for telling so many things we have a tongue, but actually for hearing about Krishna and about chanting Krishna's holy name. Now that is our process, and everything is based on that, even in this material world. First we hear, then we consider, then we act. In any way, in everything. So also in spiritual life, first we hear from the proper source, and hearing that, then we contemplate that, and when we accept that, then we'll act on that. And that is how we make progress in spiritual life. Hearing and then acting. Hear about Krishna, then understanding that, accepting that, we wish to transform our lives to become devotees of Krishna. And this way, our life changes from a mundane life of suffering in this cycle of birth and death, and changes into a life of dedication at the lotus feet of Krishna through Guru and Vaishnava. And this way we come to realize our own inner wealth, to understand our own self, and also to understand Krishna as much as we're allowed to understand him by the process of revelation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give this, to share this with the world. And we are studying this book of Guru Maharaj, speaking about his Leela, his pastimes. So we are thinking, now we have heard something about his life, and next week we'll begin his teachings, which is known as the Shikastaka. Mahaprabhu himself, from his own pen, if you like, he left 8 verses, the Shikshastakam, 8 verses of instruction, beginning with Cheto, Darpana, Marjanam, and so on. But this is only these 8 verses, but from those 8 verses, so many writings of Rupa Goswami and the other Goswamis and their followers, Srinivasa Acharya, Narottam Thakur, and from after them Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladev Vidyabhushan and so on, down to Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, our Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj, and all of their followers. They've written so many books and given so much wealth to the world, but it's all based on these 8 verses of Sri Chaitanya Dev. The greater explanation for our understanding of all of these things, and all of the wealth of Gaudiya Siddhanta contained in these 8 verses. So next week we'll begin to discuss those 8 verses. So today,
Mahaprabhu didn't write any book, but only sisters.
yes, yeah, he didn't write any book. Although, you know, he found, when he was in South India, at the Adi Keshava temple, there he found the Brahma Samhita, 5th chapter of Brahma Samhita, and that he brought to Bengal to share with the devotees there. And of course, in those days, it wasn't that in the Adi Keshava temple they had a bookshop and you could go in and buy a copy. There would be a scribe who would copy from the original, page by page by page, and they brought that back. And also, maybe not from the same place, but also while he was in southern India, Krishna Karnamritam of Bilva Mangal Thakur. That is high, very high rasa tattva. But Brahma Samhita, very wonderful. And so much so that some scholars say that because the Siddhanta found in Brahma Samhita so much resembles or is exactly the same as what Sri Chaitanya Dev taught, that some people say, we think that he must have written this book, that not the Brahma's prayers, but he himself must have composed this book. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, that isn't the case, but if it were, that would be even better for us. To have something from his own hand like that would be very wonderful. But anyway.
He is Radha and Krishna, so he wouldn't write Govinda Madhi Purusha.
Well, that you see, actually there many times something like that has happened, like we know in the case of Jayadev Goswami, and also in Krishna Karnamritam. But famous is Gita Govinda of Jayadev, which Mahaprabhu also loved very much. But there is one verse in there that where it is Krishna is saying that I'm bowing down and taking the feet of Radharani on my head like a crown, and this inspiration, you know, Jayadev's getting that divine inspiration to compose this, and when that verse came in his consciousness, he drew back. Oh, how can I write that? You know, that Krishna will take the feet of his devotee on. I don't think I can possibly write that. You know, then he said, okay, let me take a break from my composing, and he told his wife, her name was Lilavati, and he told her, I'm going to take bath, And when I come back, I'll take prasadam, and then in the afternoon, I'll continue my work. So he went to take bath, and then very quickly, he returned. Oh, prasadam is ready? Yes, prasadam. And then he took his meal, and then he said, now I'm going to finish my work, and went into his room, closed the door, and then within a few minutes after that, he again came through the front door and said to his wife, dinner is ready? Lunch is ready? She said, what do you mean? You already took lunch. He said, no, I've just come back from my bath. She said, no, with my own hand I just fed you, and you went into your room to finish the work. Why, I think you must be going mad or something. And then, anyway, something came in his mind, so he went into the room, and there, with the ink still wet on the paper, or parchment, or leaf, or whatever it was, that verse that he'd already thought, completed there. Then he understood, oh, Krishna himself came and wrote this. Krishna himself came and said, I take the feet of Radharani on my head like a crown. Because I could not write it, but so he himself had to come and write that. And he told his wife, oh, you just fed Krishna himself. He came here disguised as me. How blessed you are. Let's take the remnants of that food together. And this sometimes Krishna is doing like that. His devotee may not be able to do directly, but he is also sometimes doing that.
Did Mahaprabhu go to South?
South India, yes. He spent a long time in southern India. And you can go, like visiting the temples that he went to in southern India. Sometimes the devotee is doing that, following all the temples Mahaprabhu visited. They're also visiting there, going to those temples.
Rangaji temple.
Yeah, Sri Rangam and Adi Keshava, and so many. There is a big list in Chaitanya Charitamrita of that. So we can finish now. The offering is on, Ishinaga? Done. Okay. So unless anyone wants to ask a question or have something they want to add.
So, you mentioned that the four things all the religions have in common.
Yeah.
Just a few days ago, someone stuck a Jehovah's Witness into my door. He said, enjoy something about live forever, enjoy forever, something like that.
Right.
But I was thinking that in Krishna consciousness, the highest thing is actually the opposite, because you have separation and anxiety is the highest thing.
Yes.
Instead of enjoying,
Yeah, it's a hook, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, even in Krishna consciousness, back in the 1960s, 70s, they used to say they'd say, chant Hare Krishna, stay high forever. That was the slogan, It means like enjoy, but it's a hook, to bring you in. Otherwise, why will anyone take to religion if they thinking is nothing in it for them? We're all like that, isn't it? Well, otherwise, why would we do? So, like Guru Maharaj said, in the period of sadhana, then some pain is there, but underlying that is the prospect of joy, that some great joy will come to us as a reward for that. But it is not like selfish enjoyment, which most religions the Jehovah's Witness.
Yourself,
Then often they have that magazine, the Watchtower or whatever it's called, and often you see on the cover there's like a family playing together in a paradise, lots of fruits and flowers and trees and very nice time. Everyone's having a very nice time, and this is what's in store for you if you follow the religion nicely. God will give you all of this, but someone's missing in that picture, and that's the Lord himself. He's not there. If he is there, he's like behind the crowd or something, providing that. But our conception is different. We are not thinking that he will be the provider of our eternal enjoyment in like heaven, but rather he is the center of everything, and our actual fulfillment is in his satisfaction. By satisfying him as the center, the central figure, then we get our actual fulfillment. Otherwise, it is just an extension of this mundane world, and that's what most people, most religious people, their conception of heaven is like the eternal reward for being religious or following the Dharma or whatever it may be. We get an eternal reward in heaven. No more suffering, no more, just all enjoyment forever. So, okay, that's true, but it is not how they think, not how we think. We're not that we, our idea of what is heaven, what is enjoyment, what is satisfaction, but rather when we understand that our satisfaction comes in his satisfaction. So like that. So Guru Maharaj used the example, if you work for a company and all of the workers, they combinedly work together for the success of the company, then when the company is successful, everyone benefits from that. But rather, we're something like in the material world, as soon as the boss is gone, we start robbing the company, We go and take everything home with us for our own enjoyment. And then the company fails. Or we go on strike.
The flaw in that is that what you regard as enjoyment of me may not be compatible in that place.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, that's the other thing, of course. But these are, maybe a little more subtle for most people. So, then there's general religion. And general religion means fear of God. They say that. He was a God-fearing man. So that means you do your duty because of some fear of, if you do wrong, some punishment will come to you. So that's okay. For that, like when you have children, sometimes you have to threaten the children, I'm going to give you a wallop if you carry on like that, Of course, you're not allowed to do that anymore, but
in some holy books it says, if you do this or
right.
this punishment or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So people get scared.
So that's fear of God.
Yeah, but
so
I think demigods worshipping.
Yeah, they're different conceptions, but that general idea that we have some fear of punishment for doing something wrong. So we become good boys, good girls, and we try and follow a righteous life, and we won't get punishment, we'll get some reward, isn't it? But that fear of God, that is maybe for the general people. But the religion of the saints is love of God. We follow the Dharma because of love of God, inspired by love of God, or at least the prospect of that love of God. We should not be imitationists and take it cheaply. Oh yes, I love God. But then why we are still living a selfish life if we love God? It is not possible. Who has love for God, then their heart only filled with that. So love of God, that is the religion of the saints. And we want to follow that type of religion. That's why Mahaprabhu's religion is called Prema Dharma. The religion of love, the religion of ecstasy, the religion of Anandam, Prema. Then everyone has some different idea what is heaven, but it is all mundane. When Tyagi Maharaj, he was on BBC radio, and they had many different representatives of different religions there, and they're all so the interviewer said, "What's your idea of heaven?" And when they came to the Muslim priest, and he said, heaven means this, that you're walking in the street and you see a bird flying in the sky, and immediately he's a kebab on your plate for you to eat. That is heaven. You know, then we are thinking, that sounds like hell, especially for the poor bird. That's hell for him, isn't it? You know, this is not heaven. But this is, even religious people, they're thinking that heaven is an extension of their own base desires, eternal satisfaction of their most base desires. That will be heaven. That's why they say, okay, you can have, you know, if you sacrifice yourself in the name of the Lord, then you will be greeted by, 700 virgins, or will be waiting for you in heaven, or something like that. Something like that, right? They say, who wants that? Seriously. You know, Janaka Pandit, you know, the great philosopher and who defeated Alexander the Great finally, you know, he said, it's easier to manage 100 mustaches than to manage 4 breasts. So you can understand, that means like you got 700 girls, all virgin girls waiting for you in heaven. That doesn't sound like a heavenly, it sounds like a lot of hard work. Anyway, I mean, all joking aside, whatever our idea is of what heaven will be, it is not that. It cannot be that. Because we are all existing within the relativity of the Lord. So then what is his idea of satisfaction? What is his idea of ananda? That is the real fulfillment. More than heaven, actually. More than heaven. We are thinking heaven is only a temporary, another plane in this material world. It is not forever. Indra living in Swarga, and you going there to sit on the throne of it with Indra like that. But it is not forever. It is only for now. And then again you have to come back to this material world, to the, you know, this Mrityaloka. But even Indra must die. Even Brahma must die. So that is all mundane. That is swaguna.
For enjoyment only.
For enjoyment,
You
yeah.
can't do bhakti,
Yeah.
so you can't do bhakti. You have to do bhakti only on earth.
Yes, so that's the...
Karma bhakti.
Yes, it is like in hell, too much suffering to practice bhakti. In heaven, too much enjoyment to practice bhakti. Then earth is good, because a little suffering, a little enjoyment, okay, that we can deal with without being too much deviated from our real purpose in life. We can understand what is good, what is bad, what is suffering, what is enjoyment, but all those things. But above that, what is transcendental, with that we have to ascertain. That is why Mahaprabhu has come here to earth to teach that. He's not, we don't hear Mahaprabhu is in Swarga, is it? He's here in earth. We don't hear Mahaprabhu is in Naraka. He is here. So that is for us. Yeah.
Mahaprabhu is some bad people was killed for Mahaprabhu is gone. So Sept
Sorry.
in Puri,
Yeah.
and Jagannath temple, Mahaprabhu was killed by some bad people.
No. There are many.
Nobody knows this. Mahaprabhu was killed.
There are many stories, but Mahaprabhu, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he disappeared. Different accounts. Some is that he walked into the ocean. Some that he walked towards the west. Others that he merged with the deity of Jagannath, and others that he merged in the knee of Tota Gopinath. Different. And our Guru Maharaj said, all may be true simultaneously, according to the vision of person who observed that. But there's no you can say, reliable account that Mahaprabhu was killed by anyone. That is not, we don't find, there are some tales like that, but we don't find that mentioned by any of the biographers of Mahaprabhu. Not mentioned by Krishnadas Kaviraj, not mentioned by Vrindavan Das Thakur or Murari Gupta or Lochan Das Thakur. These are the biographers of Chaitanya Dev. They don't mention that. Yes, that's right, yeah. Yes. Previously, he was just called Gopinath. But he is the deity of Gadadhar Pandit. But when Gadadhar was very old, then he cannot reach to offer the garland to him. Then he's praying, please, Lord, I cannot do my seva. Then the next morning when he opened the temple, that Gopinath was sitting. And then he got the name Tota Gopinath, means sitting Gopinath. Anyway, we've been seeing that.
Mark or deity.
On the knee, a golden mark. Yes, on the knee. And sometimes if you like, the pujari will show you.
That Mahaprabhu went through.
Yeah, they say this is the place where Mahaprabhu merged with him. But anyway, we are not so much concentrating on his disappearance, but rather on his life and his teachings. Okay, now's a good time to stop. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Jai Gaur Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande.